Hi everybody, I'm Trish Christ. In this episode of Our Nashville, NECAT and our super crew of teenagers spend some time at Nashville Zoo at Grassmere. President and CEO Rick Schwartz and his team are going to show and tell us all the many things they do for our community.
Come on, let's go enjoy the zoo.
Show me.
All right, let's go.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
We all know how to talk about our organization during meetings, but what about the chance encounter of a lifetime? You never know who may share your next elevator, notice your logo on a notebook or a tote bag, and ask what you do. What's the clearest, most persuasive thing you can say in a short elevator ride?
If people come to the zoo, have a positive experience, really, can feel empathetic about how these animals are dying in the wild because they're so magnificent, I think we can make a change, even if it's a small change here in Nashville, and other zoos are looking at us too. I mean, we're doing some totally innovative and unique things in the Nashville Zoo that I'm extremely proud of, and our staff is extremely proud of, and I hope that the city of Nashville is proud of.
There's much to talk about, so I'm just going to jump right in and ask you, how did the Nashville Zoo start?
We had a very unusual start, I must say, probably more unusual than any zoo in the country. In the early 1990s, Nashville was the largest metropolitan base without a major zoo. And all of a sudden now there was two entities. So the original Nashville Zoo was located in Jolton, about 30 miles northwest of here. And it was, at the time, a private venture. At the same time, Grassmere Wildlife Park was opening, which was run by the Cumberland Science Center. So they opened up in 1990, and we built our facility. We opened in 91. So now all of a sudden we had two zoos. So we operated in there from 91 until 96, when the Grassmere entity really couldn't sustain itself. And at the time, then Mayor Bredesen asked us to merge the zoos. So we didn't move the zoo initially. In 1997, we reopened Grassmere under the Nashville Zoo and still maintained our original facility. And at the time it was New World and Old World. So we were maintaining New World animals, North America and South America, because that was the premise of Grassmere. And we had the African and Asian animals in Jolton. But despite our best efforts, it was very confusing to the public, and it was difficult for us to operate too. So in 97, and at the end of 97, 98, we closed the Jolton facility and then started really focusing on the Grassmere property where we are now to build a new Nashville Zoo.
I think it's pretty cool that the part of the original concept was indigenous animals.
It was. It was indigenous animals, and that was the Grassmere premise. And quite honestly, it didn't work, because that was the biggest criticism. People would come once, and they never added a new exhibit because, quite honestly, they really couldn't, right? These were the animals of Tennessee. So it wasn't as popular with the public as they certainly anticipated. And then we brought, it's endless what we can do. So we changed that almost immediately, and then our attendance has risen and risen. Our first year, and we opened in 97, we had 72,000 visitors, and this year we're anticipating 1 million. So it's been a huge growth in a 20-year span.
This might seem like an obvious question, but what's the purpose of a zoo?
The purpose of the zoos have changed dramatically over the course of the years. And I just got back from a director's policy conference, in Monterey, California. You're seeing a real shift. While the vast majority of people are coming purely for entertainment, it's really our job to change that focus. There are such huge conservation needs in the world, and in Tennessee, and even in Davidson County, we're working with endangered species. So our real job now is to try to educate the public that the earth really is fragile, the ecosystems, and we are helping to preserve endangered species and preserve habitats. And our real goal then is those people coming for entertainment, which is wonderful, leave with a much more positive and well-meaning message.
How do we do that? How do you sneak in the education with the entertainment?
So the way we're doing it, right, is what is called immersion exhibitry. Okay, we're working really hard on some of our new exhibits. When you go into our newest habitats, we have one opening up, Andy and Bear exhibit. You feel like you're in a Peruvian village. You feel, and the habitat is exactly what you would see where these bears would be. And we try to tie in all the cultural aspects of it, all the educational aspects of it. And I think more importantly is education has changed a little bit. You've seen zoos for years just use static graphics, and there's been a lot of research, and people watch people looking at graphics, and for the most part, they don't read them, you know. We're trying to reach younger children, and I have 4 kids myself, and they're always on the computer, and they're always doing something, and they help me do with my phone and set up an app. You know, that's what they do, you know, so I'm old at this time, but that's what we need to do. So our new graphics are more engaging, you know, more interactive. And I think, you know, just by a series of playing games or seeing, you know, where these animals live and what they can do, by that aspect of it, they're going to bring more. Getting animals closer to people, getting them without barriers, you know. Nashville Zoo is very good at that, you know, some of our new exhibitry where you don't see those barriers. It's not a typical zoo as zoos were years ago. So I think that's great. Doing shows like this one, honestly, getting the message out that we really are involved in conservation. We added a zip line. And
I didn't know that.
it's amazing, you know. What's great about the zip line is obviously a lot of fun. It reaches maybe a little older audience, although I've seen you have to be 42 inches tall. We've had, you know, really young children that just meet that. They want to go on it over and over again. The adults, not so much sometimes. They're a little nervous, you know, but it gets into, you know, 12, 13, 14, 16, you know, and then our evening events we operate it. But when you get up top, you can see the rhinoceros exhibit, you can see all of the playground, you can see downtown. So it's been very popular for us. It's generating a lot of income that goes back into our operations and our conservation. So those are sort of the fun things. But what we're really focusing on is building world-class exhibits, some of the best exhibits, you know, that I've seen. And we're really proud of it. We put an enormous amount of effort into detail, hiding infrastructure, making it as natural as possible. This last year, and one thing that we're most proud of, right, is we're trying to give a minimum of 3%, and we're working towards 4%, and hopefully even more, of our annual operating budget that goes to what's called in situ conservation for these species in their wild habitats. And last year, we gave in excess of $500,000. The accredited zoos by the American Zoo Association, there's 230 accredited zoos, and collectively they gave $216 million towards conservation. So every 5 years, accredited zoos are putting in forth $1 billion towards conservation.
Wow.
And that's a serious impact. But it's so important. There's one animal in particular that we came back from the conference and all the zoos rallied together. We raised about $1 million in just a very short period, about a month's time. There's an animal called a vaquita. It's a very small porpoise off the coast of Mexico and California. And they're being targeted for another type of fish that's used for their gallbladders for medicinal purposes in Asia, and they're getting caught in these nets. There's only 27 left in the world. And I mean, it's a beautiful little animal about this big, and all the zoos have gotten together. We will never have dolphins. We will never have, you know, vaquitas certainly, but we feel it's our obligation. This is an opportunity for us to truly save a species from extinction. And for us, that's everything. You know, I don't know if it'll be successful. I mean, it's very complicated. We're working with the Mexican government, but you know, every day if you lose 2 or 3, we have months before a magnificent animal is becoming extinct, and that's not an isolated case.
Wow.
My name is Sherry Reinch. I am the lead herpetology keeper at the zoo, and also the primary hellbender caretaker. A herpetologist is someone who works with amphibians and reptiles. A hellbender, this is a hellbender. This is a model of a hellbender. This is what an adult hellbender looks like. There's some 3-year-old hellbenders behind me. They are a type of salamander, and they're fully aquatic, so they never leave the water. And they have lateral folds right here, and it actually increases the surface area of their skin so they can absorb oxygen so they don't have to come to the surface and breathe. A few years ago, we started looking in Middle Tennessee to see, are the hellbenders still where they used to be? And the answer is no. So we started doing surveys to look at the rivers, and we found that we can only find old animals. We can't find any new animals, so it means there's a lack of recruitment, which means They're laying eggs, but the eggs and the larvae aren't developing into adulthood. So eventually when all the old animals die, there's not going to be any new young ones to replace them. One of the things we're doing is we're making hellbender nest boxes. This is partially done. This is going to be a den. We're going to cover it with cement. And so this is the entrance tube where the hellbender will come in, and then he lives in here. And so we're going to put these out in the river so that they have habitat. And it's also easy for us to check it because we'll just take off the lid, see if they're there, and we can easily monitor their numbers that way without having to disrupt their habitat. Because one of the reasons what we're seeing in the rivers is they don't have a lot of the big rocks that they used to live under. A lot of the erosion is filling in their houses, their dens, so they don't have as much habitat as they used to. So this is one way we're going to help them, is we're going to give them artificial habitat to live in. And then hopefully they'll lay eggs in here, and then it's easy for us to find the eggs that we can bring them here, raise them up, put them back, and then it'll be a nice little circle of them using their house.
Let's talk a little more about things that might happen behind the scenes, research, sharing of information among zoos. I mean, most of us go to the zoo for the cute furry things, but there's all manner of studies and science and squiggly things, and
there's such a bigger purpose to zoos.
Yes.
And when people come and see our zoo, we want them to have a wonderful time. But admittedly, we need to do a better job of explaining what it is we're doing, not just globally, but locally as well. Another one of our key species is clouded leopards. It's my favorite species in the world. We're known all over the world for them. And we're doing artificial insemination this morning on one female, and then tomorrow on two. And something that is of enormous pride to our staff and to me personally is we were the first in the world to succeed with artificial insemination with clouded leopards. And then last year, and that was in 1992, and it wasn't replicated for very long time till last year, when we actually did it with frozen semen. It's the first time that's ever been accomplished. It's been successful with other species, but clouded leopards have been an enigma for whatever reason. They've been very difficult. They just don't play by the rules like everyone else does. And
so attempts have been made since the successful 1992.
Many
it just
attempts
didn't work
have been
for some
made,
reason.
including at our facility. It just hasn't worked, So we have to get the cyclicity of the females right. We need them to come into estrus, so we give them hormone injections. The animals are trained for injections. Our animals are all very tractable. We can pick them up, we can hold them, we can turn them upside down and do ultrasound. So we know right now that one of our females, through natural breeding, is pregnant. She has 3 babies. And what we're trying to do is do a co-rearing and see how they do with the males. So we're doing a lot of different things, because we have had such success with that species. And that was on the brink of extinction in captivity because they just didn't breed. The males dimorphically are twice the size of the females. They have the largest canine teeth in proportion to their skull size of any carnivore. And
in the wild and in captivity?
Yes, and so for whatever reason, it's very common for the males to attack the females and even kill the females. So it's kind of difficult to breed, when they're killing them. So we're developing these artificial insemination means. But we've also sort of locked down the secret. We do a different method of rearing them and socializing them. And where it used to be about 5% of the captive population would breed, for the Nashville Zoo, the way we raise them, we're having 100% success. So perfect scenario is we produced 4 males and 4 females about 4 years ago, and genetically they all worked out really well. And we sent them to 4 different accredited zoos, and last year all 4 bred successfully. So that's huge for us.
Right, my name's Hannah, and I'm a carnivore keeper here at the Nashville Zoo. So these are clouded leopards, and these guys are so special to us here at the Nashville Zoo. This has been one of the biggest projects that the Nashville Zoo has really taken on over the past 20 years is kind of saving the clouded leopard. Clouded leopards as a species are really unique, so they come from Southeast Asia, and they're native to the jungles of Southeast Asia, so places like Thailand, Myanmar, Laos. And they are a really, really unique and rare cat. They're very elusive, they harbor a lot of secrets, they don't really tell us anything. And so about 20 years ago, they weren't doing super well, not out in the wild, not under human care. And so we decided to take them on and really figure out kind of what's the best way to make these guys happy and healthy and how to keep them on the planet, And so here at the zoo, we focus on their breeding and their management. So basically how to make more of them and how to keep the ones that we have happy and healthy. So we as zoos, our main focus is conservation of animal species on this planet. And I think the shift in the past 50-ish years has been from entertainment over to education, and also from just keeping animals to creating animals and creating animals that will last us into the future, you know. And so I think zoos are just so important for people to learn about beautiful animals that you're probably never going to see these. Even if you go to Thailand looking for them, they're so elusive, right? Like, you're never going to see this in the wild, but you come here and you find that passion, you fall in love with them, and then you're inspired to maybe do something to help their conservation, be like removing palm oil from something that you're eating. You know, palm oil is a big thing that's affecting these guys out in the wild. We're deforesting Southeast Asia just at alarming rates to get palm oil. And so if you don't have anything to connect to, like, it can be a little intimidating to make changes in your life, right? But I think when you come to the zoo as a guest and you learn about, be it a clouded leopard, a red panda, a guinea pig, a bear, a giraffe, whoever, all of these animals need our help. And I think the importance of zoos is giving something like tangible to people that they can hang on to and say, I saw that giraffe once and I really, really care about them, so I'm going to make a change in my life, right? And I think that's why zoos are important.
I think anteaters are pretty important at the Nashville Zoo. Isn't there some sort of secret anteater business going on?
Yeah, we're in the anteater business. Anteaters are important, and it's I had an anteater as a pet when I was a child, and it was just the coolest thing in the world, and I've always been fascinated with them. And so, yeah, we have the largest collection of giant anteaters in the country. Not just to say we have the largest collection. One of the things the Nashville Zoo is really well known for, sustainability is becoming a real issue now with zoos. It's becoming more and more difficult to get animals, which means a lot of animals in zoos are inbred. So we have to bring in new animals, new founder animals. So one of the things that we're known for is going to these countries, working with the governments, and trying to get these animals out of those countries to bring new genes into it. So it's not just that the Nashville Zoo has the rarest animals. The Nashville Zoo has the rarest genetic animals. So all the zoos in the country really look to us for the species that we specialize in to get these animals. So we're really proud. We have 2 babies right now, so we're excited. The last 9 births have been males, and so we've been short on females, so the last 2 have been females. So we're very excited about it. And it's one of the things, we don't have them on exhibit. We have them off exhibit breeding, and it's really one of our key species. So we're trying to get this new group together, these young animals, and I'd like to get them on exhibit so people can see them. They're fascinating animals.
My name is Melissa Fox, and I'm one of the carnivore keepers here at the Nashville Zoo. This is our anteater barn and breeding area. So we have the largest collection of giant anteaters in the country. So right now we have 10 giant anteaters. And so these guys are super, super cool. We get to do a lot of different kind of research with them and breeding with them. We've become really successful breeding these guys. But giant anteaters just in general are really, really cool. They've got really long, elongated faces, and that aids in housing their really, really long tongue. So anteaters, since their name kind of suggests, they are insectivores, so they're specialized eaters. So they only eat insects. They eat about 30,000 insects a day, which is ridiculous. But the only way that they can do that, because they do actually have a really small mouth and they have no teeth, so the only way that they can kind of collect all those insects every day is with their tongue. So their tongue is about 2 feet long, and they will go around to anthills, termite mounds, break open into them with their claws, and then just kind of flick their tongue in through all the different caverns and holes, trying to slurp up as many ants and termites as they can. We do not have a kind of permanent exhibit for them at the zoo where you can just kind of see them walking around with all the other animals. There's a couple reasons for that. One of the big things is because we have such a large breeding program, it really helps to have a lot of the space in the back. It's a little bit quieter. They're not bombarded with people all the time, and that's really important for any kind of successful breeding program. It really limits on stress, and they can be a little bit quieter. So they're not totally inaccessible to people. Like I said, people can still see them, but this has been really, really great for our breeding program to have their little kind of slice of privacy back here. It's so fun when people first come to see anteaters and really see them up close for the first time. They're such an interesting, unique species. It kind of catches people's attention because they just don't look like most animals that you see day to day, but also they're very different from your typical zoo animal. One of the cool things that you can do here, if you sign up for one of our backstage pass tours, you can come and see the anteaters and sometimes get an opportunity to feed them. So then you can actually see how their tongue works in action and gets to do all that really cool stuff. So kids light up when they're able to experience that really cool experience.
Let's talk about engaging the public, engaging young people especially.
Yes.
What are some things that the Nashville Zoo does with our young folks in town?
So I think the Nashville Zoo is doing that very, very well. We realize that people are coming to come for entertainment, right? So we know that's the main factor. People are coming. It's our job, as I said, to get them up, but we want them to have a fun time. So at the very beginning, the very first project we did at the Nashville Zoo in 1997, oddly enough, was not build an animal exhibit. We wanted the community to get involved, the community to get behind us. And Tim McGraw at the time was sort of our spokesperson for that. We built the largest community playground in the country, 66,000 square feet. We had over 6,000 volunteers come and build this. It was great. And it's still one of the most popular things today. So a lot of people can come, a lot of moms come, every week with their kids and let them, blow out energy there. We have a carousel, and it's very themed, with endangered species. We have a lot of interactive exhibits where you see a lot of zoos going away from that. We're doing just the opposite. So there's a lot of things with interactivity where you can go in and feed lorikeets. So you can walk in and these beautiful Australian parrots, land on you and with little nectar cups they can feed. We built probably the most popular exhibit that we have today. Is our kangaroo walkabout. So you can walk in with our kangaroos. Some of them I actually raised myself, my family raised, and they're very good and they're very tame. And one called Ima, she'll lay in the middle of the path and 1,000 people can touch her. It's about, getting kids to be able to touch animals and get close to animals. It makes all the difference in the world, Last year, maybe 2 years ago, I apologize, we opened up Shell Station. Scott Hamilton and Tracy Hamilton did that. So you can have an encounter with what's called sulcata tortoises or African spur-thigh tortoises. They're very gregarious and they come in, you can feed them, and kids just love being in with the animals. Nashville Zoo, the Nashville community is really supportive of us, both the city has given us a lot of capital funds, matching funds, so and what's exciting about the Nashville Zoo is we've only developed a fraction of our entire property. It's the 9th largest zoo in the country by landmass. We have 188 acres, and we're just really developed a third of that so far. So
wow, so you've got all kinds of room to grow.
We have all kinds of room to grow, and even better than that, like most city zoos and most urban zoos are pretty much landlocked, and we're really the youngest zoo in the country. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary. Zoos have been in existence 100 years, 125, in the case of Cincinnati, over 130 years, And what they have to do to expand is sort of tear down, antiquated exhibits. And sometimes they're historic sites that they can't tear them down, so it's very difficult to turn them into modern exhibits. We have a clean palette, man. We have all this raw land, so we don't have that expense, and we can develop it. And geographically, the way we're going to set a zoo out, the property is really laid out perfectly. So once, so right now, last year we opened up our new entrance, and it's really, in my opinion, it's the best zoo entrance in the country. We won the top design award by ABC here in Tennessee, so we're very proud of that. But more importantly, it really just helps visitors get in safely. For the longest time, we didn't have funds. We didn't have restrooms at the entrance, so that's nice. And our software is upgraded. We can capture rates and know where people are coming from, so it certainly helps us with marketing. We've built a wonderful gift shop, and that we've more than doubled our sales. So again, that goes into our operating. We brought in rhinoceros last year. We brought in 4 white rhinos. They came in from South Africa. They were captive bred at ranches in South Africa. So again, new gene pool. They're non-related to anything else in the United States. We opened a magnificent spider monkey exhibit, and that particular donor, Dottie Frist, was amazing. She loves monkeys and she loves children. She wanted a play activity. So as part of the exhibit, as you approach the exhibit, you go over a 100-foot-long suspension bridge, and the kids can rock and sort of up in the trees with the monkeys. So those are the sort of elements, developing sort of play, which is really the best way to learn, right? So that's what we're doing. And then this year we're opening an Andy and Bear exhibit. We're opening a Sumatran tiger exhibit. We broke ground on a $13 million veterinary hospital, and what's wonderful about the vet hospital is it's an interactive hospital as well. So you'll be able to see the surgeries, see the treatments.
Wow.
We'll advertise, if we have a known surgery, or even if one comes up, we'll advertise that throughout the zoo so you can watch the surgeries. So when people come to the zoo for the first time, they're very pleasantly surprised. If you haven't been to the zoo in a long time, it's a new facility. And our goal is to make it one of the top zoos in the country, and we're well on our way.
Okay, Rick, there's one last section, and it's my favorite section. It's the
Okay.
speed round.
Okay.
Just like the game when we were kids. I ask you a question.
All right. You're making me nervous, but okay.
And you let the first answer that comes to mind, just let it fly, and we'll go on.
All right.
All right, fair
Okay.
enough?
All right.
Speed Round with Rick Schwartz.
Okay.
True or false? The Nashville Zoo has more than 2,764 animals and 365 species.
True.
True or false? The Nashville Zoo has a creature called a Goliath bird-eating tarantula.
True.
True or false? The Goliath bird-eating tarantula is a wildly violent animal and could eat my face off.
False.
Most people hurry to the cute furry animals, but what is the most underrated, super cool exhibit at the zoo?
Our reptile exhibit.
What do you call a baby elephant?
Calf.
True or false? Flamingos are monogamous.
True.
What animal do you have the most of?
A fish
What's the fastest animal at the Nashville Zoo?
would be some of our birds of prey, you know,
What mark do you want the Nashville Zoo to have on the world?
to be considered one of the top zoos in the world.
And last of all, what's your website?
NashvilleZoo.org.
That one's easy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, thanks.
That's great.